Profiting by his humiliating experiences, he took good care not to show the card to anyone at the hotel where he was now established himself, a comfortable little place near the Grand Opera House. All through the afternoon he thought of nothing but the card, and turned over in his mind various ways of learning its meaning without getting himself into further trouble. That evening he went again to the Folies Bergère in hope of finding the mysterious woman, for he was now more than ever anxious to discover who she was. It even occurred to him that she might be one of those beautiful nihilist conspirators, or perhaps a Russian spy, such as he had read of in novels. But he failed to find her, either then or on the 3 subsequent evenings which he passed in the same place. Meanwhile the card was burning in his pocket like a hot coal. He dreaded the thought of meeting anyone he knew while this horrible cloud hung over him. He bought a French-English dictionary and tried to pick out the meaning word by word, but failed. It was all Greek to him. For the first time in his life, Burwell regretted that he had not studied French at college. After various vain attempts to either solve or forget the torturing riddle, he saw no other course than to lay the problem before a detective agency. He accordingly put his case in the hands of an agent de la sûreté, who was recommended as a competent and trustworthy man. They had a talk together in a private room, and of course Burwell showed the card. To his relief, his adviser at least showed no sign of taking offence. Only, he did not and would not explain what the words meant. "It is better," he said, "that monsieur should not know the nature of this document for the present. I will do myself the honour to call upon monsieur tomorrow at his hotel, and then monsieur shall know everything." "Then it is really serious?" asked the unfortunate man. "Very serious," was the answer. The next 24 hours Burwell passed in a fever of anxiety. As his mind conjured up one fearful possibility after another, he deeply regretted that he had not torn up the miserable card at the start. He even seized it, prepared to strip it into fragments, and so end the whole affair. And then his Yankee stubbornness again asserted itself, and he determined to see the thing out, come what might. "After all," he reasoned, "it is no crime for a man to pick up a card that a lady drops on his table." Crime or no crime, however, it looked very much as if he had committed some grave offence, when the next day his detective drove up in a carriage, accompanied by a uniformed official, and requested the astounded American to accompany them to the police headquarters. "What for?" he asked. "It is only a formality," said the detective, and when Burwell still protested, the man in uniform remarked, "You'd better come quietly, monsieur. You will have to come anyway." An hour later, after severe cross-examination by another official who demanded many facts about the New Yorker's age, place of birth, residence, occupation, etc., the bewildered man found himself in the Conciergerie prison. Why he was there, or what was about to befall him, Burwell had no means of knowing. But before the day was over, he succeeded in having a message sent to the American legation, where he demanded immediate protection as a citizen of the United States. It was not until evening, however, that the Secretary of Legation, a consequential person, called the prison. There followed a stormy interview in which the prisoner used some strong language. The French officers gesticulated violently and talked very fast, and the Secretary calmly listened to both sides, said little, and smoked a good cigar. "I will lay your case before the American minister," he said as he rose to go, "and let you know the results tomorrow." "But this is an outrage. Do you mean to say—" But before he could finish, however, the secretary, with a strangely suspicious glance, turned and left the room. That night Burwell slept in a cell. The next morning he received another visit from a non-committal secretary, who informed him that matters had been arranged, and that he would be set at liberty forthwith. "I must tell you, though," he said, "that I have had great difficulty in accomplishing this, and your liberty is granted only on condition that you leave the country within 24 hours, and never, under any conditions, return." Burwell stormed, raged and pleaded, but it availed nothing. The secretary was inexplorable. And yet he positively refused to throw any light upon the causes of this monstrous injustice. "Here is your card," he said, handing him a large envelope closed with the seal of legation. "I advise you to burn it and never refer to the matter again." That night the ill-fated man took the train for London, his heart consumed by hatred for the whole French nation, together with a burning desire for vengeance. He wired his wife to meet him at the station, and for a long time debated with himself whether he should at once tell her the sickening truth. In the end he decided that it was better to keep silent. No sooner, however, had she seen him that her woman's instincts told her that he was labouring under some mental strain, and he saw in a moment that to withhold from her his burning secret was impossible, especially when she began to talk of the trip they had planned through France. Of course, no trivial reason would satisfy her for his refusal to make the trip, since they had been looking forward to it for years. Yet it was impossible now for him to set foot on French soil. So he finally told her the whole story, she laughing and weeping in turn. To her, as to him, it seemed incredible that such overwhelming disasters could have grown out of so small a cause. And being a fluent French scholar, she demanded a sight of the fatal piece of pasteboard. In vain, her husband tried to divert her by proposing a trip through Italy. She would consent to nothing until she had seen the mysterious card which Burwell was now convinced he ought long ago to have destroyed. After refusing for a while to let her see it, he finally yielded. But although he had learned to dread the consequences of showing her the cursed card, he was little prepared for what was to follow. She read it, turned pale, gasped for breath, and nearly fell to the floor. "I told you not to read it," he said. And then, growing tender at the sight of her distress, he took her hand in his and begged her to be calm. "At least tell me what the thing means," he said. "We can bear it together. You surely can trust me." But she, as if stung by rage, pushed him from her and declared in a tone such as he had never heard from her before, that never, never again would she live with him. "You are a monster," she explained. And those were the last words he heard from her lips.